So, we actually heard some mention, like, some allusion to this earlier, but it turns out our old man... Yep, I think Julia did mention a sibling earlier, but, that is Shigen. No, wait, no, she mentioned Shigen before, but, yeah, now we're actually meeting him. You know what's also a big coincidence? The fact that they're only adopted siblings! I'll just say that much for now. So at this point, Garrow is leaving to go to Holmes's crew. They make it seem like that's the case, anyway, but it kind of isn't. Meanwhile, in the middle of the ocean... Here's the melodramatic enemy phase theme again. Port Mars? Yeah, sadly, after being taken over by an evil chancellor, it turns out that Welt's problems are not over. Now they have a pirate problem in addition to their bandit problem. However, Holmes is on the case. Wow, okay, I didn't actually mean to make it sound like Sherlock Holmes, but yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting point. Now that, we've left, Welt is actually kind of defenseless, so the bandits are gonna pounce on it. Also, you know, being seen as a hero in the eyes of this island's people is also probably going to pay well. And yeah, Holmes is alluding to the fact that we're going to be facing some much tougher enemies and much tougher chapters. And this line is, I think this line is a great gameplay tip here. So, Holmes is going to be fighting weak pirates. And also he has the luxury of picking their opponents. So yeah, great training for low-level characters. So what's this all referring to? Well, we're gonna see in a moment. I'm sure I've kind of alluded to this before. Holmes and Runen aren't gonna meet up for quite some time. Until chapter 24, actually. So yeah, that is quite a while. As Holmes is saying, several months, i.e., yeah, chapter 24, that's a while. I've alluded to this a few times, maybe, and some people have already figured it out, but if we go to Manage, this is the first route split in the game. We can swap characters between Runen and Holmes' armies freely. And as they were mentioning in the dialogue, Runen's chapters were going to be facing stronger enemies, while on Holmes' chapters, we'll not only be fighting weaker monsters and pirates, but Holmes has access to skirmishes and can freely move around the world map to grind as much as he wants. Runen, his route plays more like a typical Fire Emblem game. He moves from chapter to chapter, no backtracking, and no skirmishes. Holmes is basically guided. In fact, Holmes' route is pretty much exactly guided. Also, Runen's chapters, his maps are bigger, there are more secondary objectives that require going fast, and the terrain is a lot more open. So cavalry and flyers do much better on Runen's route than they do on Holmes' route, where there are smaller maps, more densely packed terrain, and a lot of indoor maps, forcing dismounting. That being said, there are some story events on one route or the other that you need to have specific characters on that specific route in order to see. And I'm going to go over the list of events now, because I'll start with the mutually exclusive events. Yes, some characters have events on both routes, and that means you will need to do 2 playthroughs to see everything. Chryse and Arcus are allowed to be in separate parties, but you don't want that because their events require them to be together. On Runan's route, they have a conversation after Chapter 9, and after Chapter 10, Arcus and Esther have another talk that adds to his one-sided support with her. Raffin also has to be present, but he should be put on Runan's route anyway for reasons that I'll explain later. On Holmes' route though, Chryse and Arcus will be able to begin the Latina event. This is the longest and most infamously guide-dang-it side quest in the entire game. And you will also need to have an elixir and a miracle charm, though they don't need to be in Chryse's inventory yet. You'll just need to make sure Holmes has access to them. The Latina event is only worth it if you care about story. If all you care about is gameplay, I recommend putting both of them on Runan's route. They do better there. The next one with mutually exclusive events is Sasha. On Runan's route, she has a conversation in Chapter 19 that gives her +3 luck. But on Holmes' route, she activates a few extra events that increase her support with him, and this will unlock even more events later that ultimately have a significant impact on the game's ending. Just like the Chryse and Arcus decision, it's story versus gameplay. With Marouge though, the choice is between gameplay and different gameplay. If he's on Runan's route, he'll obtain the Reeve Codex. This is a passive item. As long as it's in somebody's inventory, their HP, luck, magic, and mastery growths are all increased by 10%. If he's on Holmes' route, he'll obtain the Sylphid Tome when you visit the Mars Temple. Anybody who can use wind magic and has 7 or more mastery can use this, and it's not only a strong tome that's also fairly light, it prevents the enemy from counterattacking too. Of these two, I recommend the Sylphid Tome far more, but it's important to note that the Reeve Codex is unique, while there is another way to get a Sylphid Tome later on. But Sylphid is so good that 2 copies of it can't hurt. Also, you get it much earlier this way. Next, the unique events for Runan's route. If Kate, Zeeg, and Norton are all on Runan's route, there is an event after Chapter 10 that gives Norton a 5% one-sided support with Kate. Esther, I talked about her event in the mutually exclusive section before. If Arcus and Raffin are both present in Runan's party, his one-sided support with Esther will be increased. Naren gets one of his very few story events on Runan's Chapter 10, giving him a 5% one-sided support bonus from Runan. But if there's one person who definitely wants to be on Runan's route, it is Raffin. In Chapter 10, he can recruit somebody who's a little tricky to recruit otherwise. But if this person is recruited with Raffin, you trigger the event that gives Raffin his 2nd promotion. Definitely put Raffin on Runan's route for this reason. He also just does very well on Runan's route in general. Plum has an event in Chapter 10 on Runan's route that also gets you something really, really good. This event crosses over with Holmes' route, so I'll be covering the rest of that later. And finally, if you for some reason have Luca, he and Raquel have a conversation after Chapter 10, though there's no gameplay benefits for it. I don't know if this is required for the Chapter 26 Luca event, but I'm guessing it isn't. And now, the unique events for Holmes' route. Holmes can obtain 2 very, very useful unique staves. Firstly, by having Mel and Roger on his route, and visiting Mars Temple. Roger and Mel have to be put on the same party, by the way. And the second, simply by keeping uni with Holmes, which is highly recommended anyway, because Holmes has some maps that require you to open all the chests. There you get some events with Shigen and another character if he's on Holmes' route, which gives some pretty good mutual supports between the 3 of them. Martell can recruit somebody in Holmes' chapter 15, however, just like Raffin's recruitment event, she's not required for this, she just makes it easier. In chapter 14, Bart can trigger the follow-up to Plum's event in chapter 10, which will also give him a 5% support bonus with her. However, this is not necessary, Holmes can also do this, and in my opinion, Bart gets a worse ending if he triggers this event, so I would recommend avoiding it. I'm still going to put him in Holmes' party anyway for demonstration purposes. Finally, Zeno and Garrow both have extra story events on Holmes' route, though none of them have any gameplay benefits. In addition, you can swing by Castle Welt on Holmes' route to get a second pick out of Count Marlon's men, provided that you have at least one out of Sasha, Kate, Raffin, Esther, Norton, or Roger in Holmes' party. If you're getting Mel's ensorcel staff, Roger already has you covered for this. I'll start off with my picks for the mutually exclusive events. I'm going to put Chryse and Arcus on Team Holmes because I want to show the Latina events. If you are doing this, you will also need a Miracle Charm and an elixir. You can get the elixir from the last chapter in a chest, and I've got one here. I believe that's the only one available at this point. And Miracle Charms, you get one in a village in the first chapter, Marouge joins with one, and you can buy them at Verge. So I've got one of those already. And speaking of Marouge, I'm gonna put him in Holmes' army. While the Reeve Codex is unique, I'm gonna go for the Sylphid Tome in this playthrough, but I have extra footage of obtaining the Reeve Codex. And finally, the hardest decision for me to make. Normally, I say put Sasha all the way on Runan's route. She does amazingly there. But I want to see the extra story content for her being on Holmes' route. This is gonna ruin her a little bit because she doesn't like indoor maps. But the extra story events are going to be really great, so I'll be sure to show those. Oh, and I need to make sure to give her the Levin sword before she goes, because Levin swords are, let's just say that they're not going to be that obtainable on Holmes' route, but we're going to have more access to them on Runan's. Actually, Uni already had one, so that's actually already great. I'll talk more about how trading over items works after I've gone over the characters that I want to send to each army. So now that I've done all the mutually exclusive characters, I'm just going to put the characters that I need for story events on both routes. So on the subject of this is the issue with Roger that I was talking about earlier. Roger and Mel, you cannot separate them. If you try and put them in separate parties, they will both end up defaulting to Runan's route. Also, I think if one of them dies, the other leaves your army. So, if Mel is going on Holmes' party for the ensorcel staff, Roger unfortunately has to go too, which is, I say unfortunately because Roger would do really well on Runan's route since that one favours cavalry a lot more. Now, finally, as for the people with no events, Zeeg. Zeeg is fantastic on either route. On Holmes' route, he has Frontiersman, and on Runan's route, well, he's just a very powerful character who can just destroy Runan's chapters. I personally prefer him on Runan's route because his chapters are harder, and in particular, Runan's chapter 18 is a very tough map with a boss that Zeeg is one of the few people who can reliably fight, and also a lot of forests, which Zeeg can move through with no penalty. So I'm going to keep Zeeg on this route for now. Now Raquel. Raquel does well on Holmes' route because she can kill monsters and Holmes will be mostly fighting monsters. But she's also useful on Runan's route for weakening certain strong enemies or bosses, and she's very powerful in general, and Runan's route likes powerful characters. Especially since I've sent people like, my Pegasus Knights and Vega over to Holmes' party. So I think I'm actually going to keep Raquel on Runan's route for now. Now, as for Tom, there are more arenas on Holmes' route, so if you want to send Tom over there for the arena trick, that's also fine, but Tom actually deals pretty well with a certain map, actually it is chapter 18 on Runan's route, that one. So, I think I'm going to keep him on Runan's route for now. Now, Julia, interestingly, doesn't actually trigger any events on either route, but she does have a support with with Shigen, I think, later, who hasn't officially joined yet, but he will join once we begin Holmes' route. Also, Holmes is technically in our party now. I'm not going to give his bio yet, because, again, Holmes' route hasn't technically started yet. But Katri is locked to Holmes' route, and Enter is locked to Runan's. So, you do have 1 4-staff user for either route, which is pretty nice. And with that, I think I'm okay on which characters go to which party. Now it's time for... Well, I'll do gold first, it's a little easier. You can transfer gold in increments of 1,000 between the 2 armies. I will say, though, I would also, yeah, you can actually have, Holmes give Runan all his golds. I will say, I recommend leaving most of your gold with Runan. There is a point in Runan's route where he is going to lose half of his money. But before that happens, Runan has a secret shop that sells physics staves and Levin swords. So basically you can just spend all your cash there and have like your leftover 10 gold halved to 5. That's why I would recommend giving Runan the lion's share of the cash. Holmes can also get extra money bags in skirmishes, so it's not that important that he have money, and his maps have a lot of chests as well to grab extra weapons and the like. Now, in terms of items, both chapters have their own convoys, but if you press the select button, you can switch to Holmes' army, and you can go to the convoy and trade items between the 2 convoys. You also need to press the select button to access the items inventory, as opposed to the weapons inventory. Now, I'm going to need to promote Christ, so I'm going to put that Knight Crest in Holmes' inventory. The Goddess Potion, honestly, I just kind of want to sell that, really, and for that, I'll probably leave it with Runan. You might want to leave some money bags with Runan, because when your money is halved, that will not affect money bags, so that'll give you a little bit of reserve of cash to dip into. The Occult Book I'm going to bring to Holmes' party, because I have 2 Pegasus Knights here, and Sasha is actually very close to hitting her level cap, so I'm going to want to use that so she can get to level 30. If Sasha goes to Runan's route, she can promote to Wyvern Knight, but it might not be worth doing that, because Pegasus Knight is overall better. Now, in terms of the weapon convoy, the Swordbreaker. The Swordbreaker should go to Holmes' route because he has a side quest that requires it. I'm also going to transfer a few pylons over to Holmes. 3 and 4 is probably okay. Runan needs the halberd way more than Holmes does, because Holmes is not going to be fighting. In fact, does he even fight any cavalry? I think he doesn't fight a lot, at least. And Thunder... Yeah, I think Thunder can go with Holmes, because he's actually going to be recruiting a mage who can use that soon. I think that's fine in terms of weapons and stuff, but in terms of other items, the Armor Slayer is actually a lot better served in Runan's convoy, so I'm going to give that to Runan's convoy. Runan prefers the bridge key to Holmes, so I'm going to actually move the bridge key over to Holmes' item convoy. Holmes' party should keep the Thunder Shield. It's going to be useful for one of their later chapters. The Iron Shield, honestly, that's better served on Runan's party, so I'm gonna, yeah, I think I'll swap that over to Runan. And the Wing Potion, again, maybe better on Runan's route, because, like, who needs more speed? In fact, I actually like giving it to Holmes, so he can potentially double with Brave Crossbows, so I might keep that with Holmes for now. Oh yeah, Holmes definitely needs better bows. So maybe, I think I can swap over that iron bow to Holmes' party. Yeah, make sure you remember the select button. The select button is really vital to this point of the game. Okay, Holmes has that now. Oh, actually, yes, heal staff. Katri does not begin with the heal staff, so she should definitely take that. Oh, you could transfer over the save staff. Holmes' route will find another one. So, probably best to keep that in Runan's party. Also, Runan's chapters are harder and thus require more saving. I'm actually going to give 2,000 more gold over to Runan just because he really needs it. And I would highly recommend that you save now, just in case you forget any events, or you put characters on the wrong route, or you forget items. Yeah, because after you move, that will be it for Route Split 1. Runan and Holmes will go their separate ways, and the parties will not interact again until after Chapter 24. Just doing a final inventory check. The thing about Garrow as well is, like, you can freely put Garrow in Runan's party. They act like he's locked to Holmes, but he's really not. Holmes doesn't need a lot of weapons, I may as well give you one of the pylums. Because he has much easier access to shops than Runen does. I should be ready. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. It's time to split up. As Runen sails out to sea. And Holmes is left to literally hold the fort on Isora. Though he won't be staying there for long. Shigen is kind of the master of sarcasm. He and Holmes both. Little does Holmes know they already have. The pirate leader, let's just call him What's-His-Face for now. I feel bad for Welt now, though. First the Chancellor and now pirates.